Welcome back everybody, and today on our Hero Forge painting guide, we are going to be painting our Space Soldier. Yes, taking a little break from fantasy, and we're going to learn how to paint power armor, and also go over how to apply decals. To begin with, I do want to apologize. I had the camera zoomed in a little bit too much during some of this video, so we are going to be a little off center. As far as our painting is concerned, we're going to do this in a little bit different order than normal. Rather than starting from our deepest shade color and working our way up through the base coat and the highlights, in this situation we're actually going to start with the base coat, which is Oxford Blue, and now I'm putting on a heavy wash over that with black ink and glaze medium. Now, normally you don't want to use a wash on a figure like this with a bunch of flat plates because the wash will dry blotchy. However, I do want a deep dark line because we're going to be highlighting all the edges of these miniatures, so I want a deep dark line in all the crevices. And with the addition of the glaze medium in with the wash, that slows down the dry time and allows us to go back with a dry brush and clean off any excess on the plates. Next is an optional step. This kind of depends on what colors you're using at home, but I'm reapplying the Oxford Blue just to clean up any errors. However, depending on what colors you use at home, if the wash you use, the dark wash, stained your base coat and made it a little bit darker, you can go ahead and reapply your base coat. And again, depending on what colors you use, you can actually get an additional layer of shading doing this. So you have the black in the recesses, the Oxford Blue that was dyed with the black ink, and now we're reapplying the Oxford Blue. So we can have three colors with just two steps. Beginning our highlighting, and this is a little bit different than our normal overhead lighting because we are highlighting towards the edges of all the plates because we want a nice edge highlight going around the miniature. And for our first step, we're using kind of a broad brush stroke because we're not just painting the very edge. We're going to do that later on. Basically, I want a highlight line of about 2 or 3 millimeters around each edge on the miniature. For our next highlight, with more of the Vallejo Game Color Wolf Gray added, now we're really working on the edges. And you can see we're using the tip of the brush or the edge of the brush just to catch the very edge of all the plates. And when I say all the plates, I don't necessarily mean every single edge. We are still trying to achieve an overhead lighting scheme. So any edge that is up on top could get a little bit more highlighting than the edges on the bottom. I did apply one more highlight using straight wolf gray. You can see some of the sparkle points on a few areas of the miniature. Sorry I couldn't show that part. But now I'm actually going back and reapplying the Oxford Blue. You may have noticed some brush strokes with the first highlighting step, and I wasn't too concerned about having my paint too thin because I wanted to show you a different way you can take care of brush strokes, and that is by reapplying a thinned version of the original base coat. So we're layering on some Oxford Blue to smooth out some of the rougher highlights, which is something we can do on a miniature like this with all these flat plates. Time to add some contrasting colors, and I decided to go for a dirty yellow color, and not exactly beginning with our Vallejo Game Color Filthy Brown. Underneath this is actually some, I believe it was Parasite Brown. I'm not sure what color I used, but it doesn't matter. But I needed to put an undercoat down first. putting down an undercoat first makes it easier to cover with your lighter color. For example, trying to paint white straight over black doesn't work very well, so you want to start with browns or grays first. For our highlights, I'm simply going to add white twice, and just like with the other plates, we are highlighting towards the edge. So first a rather broad stroke for our first highlight, and then our second highlight is going to be more concentrated just on the very, well, edge of the edge. So let's talk about decals. There's a lot of game systems with miniatures that come with decals, and if you modeled or game for quite a while, you're going to build up a collection of decals, and they are a very easy way to add a little bit of detail to miniatures without having to worry about freehand painting. First thing we want to do is put down a gloss varnish. Decals do not work well over a rough surface, so we need to smooth it out. Cut out your selected decal using a hobby knife, and then what you want to do is soak it in warm water for about 10 seconds, and then place it on a paper towel, and in about 30 seconds or so, the film will start to come off of the paper, and then it'll be ready to apply. Moisten the surface where the decal is going to be placed, and then using a pair of tweezers and then either a brush or a hobby knife, you want to slide the decal off of the paper onto the area where the decal is going to go, and then adjust the position once again using the knife or the brush. Once you have the decal in place, you want to use a cotton swab to roll out any excess water underneath the decal. So start in the center and just roll the cotton swab towards the edge, being very careful not to move the decal. Most of the time, all you need to apply decals is water, but in some situations you may need some aftermarket product. In this case, using microsol to help the decal form around the rounded surface of the shoulder pad here. Once this is dry, we go over all the decals once again with our gloss varnish to seal them completely. For our base, we are going to tackle that very easily, starting off with Vallejo Model Air Gunmetal, and we're going to use 3 washes. And they're going to be placed in different concentrations. So starting off with our charred brown wash, a little bit stronger in a few spots, a little bit weaker in others, kind of a blotchy appearance. And charred brown we use for a little bit of rust. Vallejo Model Color Camo Black Brown for a little bit of a darker dirt. And then we finally follow that up with just straight black. And so just 3 easy washes, letting each one dry before applying the next, gives us a little bit of variety to our base, and it's very easy to do. And with that, our future soldier is finished. Very easy paint job. One, because we only used 2 colors on the miniature, we just have a 80% blue and a little bit of our dirty yellow. Secondly, because we are just edge highlighting on this miniature. Didn't take as many layers as it normally does, going through the whole layering process with multiple shades and highlights and what have you. So Easy to do, very clean. Hope this helps, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.